So, confession time before we begin. There's just water in here. I did not make myself a nice coffee today. I was going to, but I didn't. Hey everybody, welcome back to my 2-year BookTube anniversary Q&A. So yes, 2 years here on BookTube is so fun, so cool. Thank you all for everyone who supported me and who's been subscribing to me. So last week I announced a Q&A video and you guys have left some questions. So today I'm going to give you an answer and we can get to know each other a bit better. So a lot of you guys actually asked multiple questions. So I actually broke them down into different categories. So I have bookish, I have BookTube channel related, and then I just have some random fun ones. So without further ado, let's get on into it. So the first questions we're going to be doing are the bookish questions. So the questions just book related. They're not BookTube or channel related. So we're just going to jump right into the book related ones. So Jenna asked 2 bookish related ones. She asked me what are my favorite covers, and my types of favorite covers are covers similar to Unblemished by Sarah Ella. I really like good artwork. I kind of like half faces or like entwined, like the backs of people. But I do love covers with good artwork or just good typography or symbols or just really bold covers. So it's hit or miss, but these two are really strong favorites of mine. Her second question was what are my favorite and least favorite romances. I didn't pick any like couples or OTPs or anything in specific to these. I'm just gonna pick my favorite types of romances. So my favorite types of romance are kind of like the ones where you take a second look at somebody. So kind of like Beauty and the Beast, where you get to know somebody on the inside and then you kind of take a second look at these people and you start to see more on the inside. And I really like those because those require you to actually take time to know the person's character and who they are on the inside. So I really like those ones. My least favorite are love triangles. Now, love triangles can be done well, and I also hate insta-love. Like, just if you're falling in love within the first 3 chapters, like, no, like, slow down, take some time. Nobody falls in love that fast. I mean, I used to be a hopeless romantic love at first sight, once upon a time type of girl, but after growing up, I realized we all need to grow up, and there's no such thing as love at first sight. So my questions are just going to be off to the side. If I keep looking down, that's why. But the next one comes from Little Prairie Library, or my friend Felicia. She asks, what book would you like to see adapted into a movie if they didn't screw it up? Which is very important to add. Now, what I like with actually adaptations more than movies or TV shows is actually a mini series. So you don't drag it on forever in a TV show, and you don't smoosh everything in together or drop a bunch of stuff in for a TV series. So I picked a couple that I think would be really good for miniseries. I would like to see the Lunar Chronicles done as a miniseries or even a movie series, but like I said, a really well done movie series, but then I don't want a huge movie saga. So I think it would be a very good miniseries, and then you can even do like sub miniseries with like Wires and Nerves. And you can even throw in some of the novellas too and like flashbacks and stuff. So I think this would actually give you enough for either a TV show or a miniseries. Now what I think would make an excellent miniseries is Everland by Wendy Spinelli. And when I think about this, like Everland and Everland, I think of actually these 2 miniseries. So Tin Man and Alice from the Sci-Fi Channel. These are so cheesy and weird. And I think the weirdness of this book and the strangeness of these types of miniseries, these made-to-TV miniseries, would work so well with that. I mean, give it a bit more of a budget and maybe update some of the special effects and stuff, but I think the twistedness and the steampunk storyline with these fairy tales would work really good with the miniseries. So this would be super cool if they did not mess this up. She also asked if there's been any adaptations I've been disappointed in, and yes, there has actually. So there's been a couple that, like there's those movies out there that did not do the books justice, and one of those I think was actually the Hobbit movies. I really enjoyed the movies separate on their own, being back in that Middle Earth kind of created by Peter Jackson and Weta, and I really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed the acting and everything that they are for. But I was so disappointed in the Desolation of Smaug and the Battle of the Five Armies just because it just went on forever and all these things came into play that just really didn't need to be. And even to keep them separate, even within the movies, I did not like the Tariel Keeley thing. It bothered me. It just didn't need to be there. I don't have to have romance in every movie or anything like that. So I was just kind of disappointed with that. But I really liked The Unexpected Journey. I think that one was really done well because that one was probably the closest to the book than the other two. And I know Peter Jackson used like other resources from Tolkien's work for those, but I just was not impressed. Her next question was, what kinds of things did you love reading when you were younger? And is it still something you like to read, or have your reading taste totally changed? And I thought about this, and I mostly read contemporary. Like, I tried to think of what I read as a kid, and I read stuff like historical fiction. I read the Christy Miller series, or at least like what was out when I was a kid. But so there's like contemporary and Christian fiction, and not really like, it was more like historical fiction and contemporary is what I read when I was younger. I kind of transitioned after high school to, I just thought I had to read like just Christian fiction and just historical fiction, and I just wasn't enjoying being a reader anymore. And it wasn't until after Bible college where I picked up the Hunger Games that I fully again enjoyed being a reader. So after picking up the Hunger Games and picking up Melanie Dickerson's books like a few years ago, I just kind of launched myself into a ton of different aspects of reading. Dystopians, historical fictions, World War II fictions, fantasies. I just kind of expounded everything that I read now is completely different from what I used to read. Nat from Pickle Hearts Books asked, what type are your favorite endings? Open-ended, epilogues, happily ever after, etc., etc. I really like epilogues. I like everything to be wrapped up. I like you have the conclusion of the main events in the book, and then you kind of wrap it up with an epilogue at the end and kind of just tie all those loose ends together. So you can still wrap up an ending of a book, but I really like an epilogue where it just kind of cements everything that happened. And I do like the happily ever after type stories. I can live without them. I'm okay with sad stories as long as, again, they get wrapped up really well. I hate open-ended books. She also asked, what is an underrated book I think everybody should read? And it was kind of hard to pick one that I think everybody needs to read. Like, to me, there isn't a book that like you have to read this, and I couldn't think of an underrated one where I think like everybody needs to read this. A really good one is Holes. I think it used to be more popular back in the day, but Holes by Louis Sakar is really good. But like Everland, like I seen it very briefly here on BookTube. I think it's a fantastic story. And Entwined, like if you're into fairy tale retellings and you haven't read this one yet, you should just go read this one. I think it's just a fun, lighthearted, well done, fully done story, and I can't put into words how much I like it, so you should go pick it up. So Latin Lector and Love at First Page asked me very similar questions. So Latin Lector asked me, what is your favorite and least favorite Christian fiction? And Love at First Page asked, what is my favorite Christian fiction that isn't Melanie Dickerson? So actually, to surprise a lot of you, I don't read that much Christian fiction, actually. And why that is just because I haven't found Christian fiction that I have just been drawn to, like a genre of it, and it all seems the same to me. It took me a while, but my favorite is Anomaly by Kristen McGee, and I loved this book. It was so well done. It was a dystopian, but it wasn't like biblical end times dystopian. It was just a YA dystopian, but had solid biblical Christian teachings in here, but they weren't like in your face, or they weren't all the same, and everybody dealt with things differently. But it was so solidly foundational in a lot of my beliefs, and I just liked seeing that nothing was tampered with to make a story, or nothing was changed or taken away from to make the story flow. It was still kept very solidly founded in biblical teaching, so that's what I really liked about this story. One that I ended up not liking that I read, and that was actually The Returning by Rochelle Decker. And Melanie and I talked about this live show, but I had such a problem articulating what it was that bothered me with this until I read, I think it's Jonathan T., a review I saw on Goodreads of this, and he articulated perfectly what I felt about this book finally. So I will leave that linked down below, and you guys can read that review, and that is exactly how I think about this book. I read the entire thing and agree with his review, and that's how I felt about The Returning. There's just nothing in here that was biblical. There's even stuff that goes against some of the Bible's teachings as well. And like I said, there was no foundation of where Aaron came from, of where Aaron's teachings came from. It was just, let's throw this all in here and make it sound good kind of thing. And that's how it just didn't sit right with me. And now I finally found something that articulates how I felt about it. So I'll leave that linked down below. You guys should go read that review. Amy C. Books then asked me, if I could live inside any book, which would it be and what character would I be? I like the idea of being in Middle Earth. I love Rohan, Gondor. I love Rivendell. I would totally want to be an elf or someone from Rohan or someone from Gondor. But if we're being honest, I'd probably be a hobbit. Putting that out there. I love food. I love comfort. I love my cozy little hobbit hole. I would probably be a hobbit if I was in Middle Earth. So Lindsay from BFCG asked me what is my favorite Melanie Dickerson book, and it was a little I put them way over here. And it was a little difficult to pick one, so I ended up picking two. And out of her Hagenheim books, I loved The Golden Braid, but I love this one more because, again, it was one of those taking a second look at a person kind of romances. It also followed the same events of The Princess Spy, but from a completely different perspective. And then it wrapped up some of the events of The Princess Spy that I didn't realize needed to be wrapped up until I read this book. So it had a lot of aha moments and a lot of like unexpected twists and turns that I was really happy about. So I really liked The Golden Braid. And another one I really liked was A Viscount's Proposal, and I'm saying it right now, but A Viscount's Proposal is her second book in her Regency Spies of London series, and this one was so good. The banter and the wit in this, and this again is another book of taking a second look at a person and seeing them in a different light. So I really enjoyed both of these books for those aspects. And Chapters We Love asked another Melanie Dickerson related question, and that is, which was my first Melanie Dickerson book and how did I find out about her books? So how I found out about her books was actually before I started BookTube. I had this one friend who, we're not really friends anymore, but we used to hang out and we would go and look at a Christian bookstore. And it was just so expensive at Christian bookstores. We were complaining about that, and then she told me about christianbooks.com, which is a discount Christian book site. I was perusing in the YA section on there, and I found The Healer's Apprentice, and I was reading the synopsis of all of her books, of her Hagenheim books, and I thought, you know what? It's medieval fiction. It is fairy tale retellings. I think I'm going to like this. And that was when I was still stuck in my I have to read historical fiction type setting before I kind of expounded into different genres. And I bought all 5 of them. They had like all 5 of them package on there. So I bought all 5 of them in one shot, knowing that I was going to like these books. And the rest is history. So the first one, I started with the first one, The Healer's Apprentice. Now moving on to some more channel related questions. So these are based on what I found being on BookTube or my BookTube channel, or books that I've discovered or genres I discovered through BookTube. So you guys asked a lot of those types of questions. So the first one is from Beloved Friend, and she asked, what is my favorite thing about being a booktuber? And I really like the aspect of it's a comfortable setting to get to know people and to meet people. And the internet used to not be that way. You could never trust of who you're talking about on the internet. And I feel like we're more global now. And when you actually have a community you can be a part of instead of just talking to random people, I think you have an easier way of getting to know people that way. And that's what I really like about it. Also with my channel growth and stuff and how small my channel still is, but it's getting to the point now where a lot more of you guys are commenting on videos and I can chat with you guys and get to know you guys as subscribers. So that part's getting a lot more fun, and then we're having a lot more of you guys join us for our live shows. And our last one was just a hilarity for me. Like, it was just so much fun to watch the comments. And it's just a comfortable setting to get to know people. I am in a place where I live that I don't have a lot of people who appreciate the things I'm into, like books, movies, Funko Pops. It's either considered childish or I'm kind of an oddity in amongst people my age group because I'm 30 years old and I'm single, I'm not married, and a lot of people in my area who are my age are married, so their priorities are in completely different places than mine. So it's hard to relate and it's hard to build friendships that way. And so I find BookTube is a really good place for that, and I've really appreciated the people I have met. The other thing that's really fun is to be involved in really cool things, and even though I had a small channel, I got to be involved as an advanced reader for Unblemished by Sarah Ella, and I seriously cried when I got this book, guys, because it's my first ARC ever. But not only that, is on the back she thanked all of us who were her advanced readers, and so my Coffee&Chapters username YouTube channel is now forever imprinted in the thank yous of a published book, which is so cool to me. But it's also even more cool to watch somebody's dream and somebody's promise come true and to be a part of that. And that was just a lot of fun. And to meet other booktubers through being part of her early release group, And yeah, it's just a lot of fun to be a part of this. It's probably my favorite thing, aside from meeting you guys, that I've been a part of. She also asked if there would be anything I would do differently. To be honest, right off the get-go, I would have invested in a camera. And I know you can start a channel with whatever equipment you have. Thankfully, off the bat, right away, I invested in a different editing studio, but I wish I would have invested in a camera right away, because it's not the equipment that makes your channel at all. But for me, I feel it limits me in a lot of things that I want to do. And a lot of things that I wish I could do with this channel, I feel limited because I have limited abilities of what I can do with a phone for filming. Steve from the Lawn Gnome likes to ask these types of questions, which I really appreciated. But he asked, what are some of my influences here on YouTube that drove me to make a channel? So a couple of them I saw was Marissa Creel, and I'm probably saying her last name wrong. I'm so sorry, Melissa. For some reason, I cannot say your name. And she has a kind of like a Disney YouTube channel vlog. She is a Disney cast member at a Disney store where she lives, and so she has a very Disney centered channel. But the way she articulates herself and tells her stories and just the fun energy she brings to her videos, I just really enjoyed watching her videos, and I wished I could just kind of do vlog life videos like that. And so I really liked her channel, and that was the first time meeting somebody locally in my immediate life that had a YouTube channel. And that kind of like, I could do that. Like, people do this. I could totally do that. I kind of want to do that. It's like an outlet for me because I've always loved video editing. And another channel I saw was Rebecca Parham over at Let Me Explain Studios, or well, she moved to Let Me Explain Studios. And I love, like, she's an animator, and I love her animation. And again, she does like daily stories or life stories, but set to animation. And the way she projects herself and articulates and tells a story is really engaging and fun. And then while I was still digging through all these channels, I found Prue's Project, Reagan from Prue's Project, and was introduced to BookTube. And I decided there's a good subject for me to launch into a YouTube channel. So he also asked me what are some of my other interests and do I ever plan to share videos for those. I also like to do more like daily life things, or like telling stories, or just like other vlogging type videos of just my life or random things, you know. I don't know. I'd like to maybe just diversify it with, you know, some geek culture as well, and then some of the things of my life. So we'll see what the future brings once I have my own place. And yeah, a full-time job would be nice. Pickle Hearts Books and Melanie from Christian YA Books and More asked me what was the first book I bought because of BookTube and why. And the first books I really bought because of BookTube were both Cinder and Everland. A lot of other books I just bought on my own. They weren't kind of encouraged from watching other people on BookTube. I think Sarah Ella talked about it on her channel, and that's when I decided to pick them up. And Everland by Wendy Spinelli. This was an Alcrate book for 1 month, and I saw everybody unbox this book, and nobody has talked about it since. So all of those YouTubers I've seen unbox this book have not read it, have not wrapped it up, have not hauled it, other than their Alcrate opening. So I have not seen this book anywhere else on BookTube aside from the Alcrate opening. So I wanted to read it because nobody was doing reviews about it because nobody was reading it. So I read it, I loved it, and I bought it. And I bought Umberland too. So Becky Ford asked me what are some of my favorite authors I've discovered because of BookTube. Marissa Meyer, I now just kind of auto-buy all of her books. Sarah Ella is one, I've met Sarah Ella through BookTube while she was becoming a published author. So Sarah Ella I discovered through becoming friends with her. And Krista McGee, I think I saw Anomaly on either Felicia's shelf or Sarah Ella's shelf. And that kind of, I had already been kind of looking at it on christianbooks.com. So when I saw them on their shelves and I had trusted a lot of the reviews and what they read, I picked up that trilogy. So I discovered Krista McGee through that. And now we're going into just some random non-book related, non-channel related questions. So Ellie Autumn asked me what is my favorite TV shows or movies. For TV shows, I'm sort of into TV shows, not really. Like, I started off with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but then once they stopped doing them physically, like I couldn't buy the TV series, and they just put them straight on digitally, I haven't been watching them since. So I had to season 1, but I know it's an incredible show, and I'm so badly wanting to get back into it. Same with Agent Carter. So those are shows I really want to watch. I adored Merlin from the BBC. I liked Sherlock, although season 4, now that it's on Netflix, is so mind-blowing and weird and mind-twisted that I don't know where I'm going with Sherlock, but it's a fantastically written show. Doctor Who, I like Doctor Who, obviously. I wouldn't consider myself a huge Whovian because I've only seen like David Tennant's Doctor and Christopher Eccleston's Doctor and maybe 4 episodes of Matt Smith's Doctor, and I've kind of stopped. Plus, Netflix took Doctor Who off, so I haven't been able to catch up, so it's Netflix's fault. So that's kind of where I'm sitting with TV shows. There's not something I tried once upon a time. I got to the end of season 2 and I'm like, no, this is so weird and so useless. I'm just moving on. So that's where Once Upon a Time happened for me. For favorite movies, the Lord of the Rings extended editions are the only movies I will watch every year without fail, without being sick of them. The Little Mermaid is my favorite Disney movie, but honestly, it's hard to pick a favorite Disney movie. Currently, right now, though, if I was to say my favorite movie is Rogue One, Star Wars Rogue One. I loved this movie so much more than I thought I would. This is by far one of my favorite Star Wars movies. It broke my heart like 5 times over, but this was so well done. And K2SO is my favorite droid now. Well, BB-8, like honestly, the droids make these movies. R2-D2 is my original sassy droid. C-3PO I could give or take, but you needed him with R2-D2. BB-8 I adored so much more than I thought I would. And K2SO, I just adored him and bawled my eyes out. I'm not going to say anymore because that's spoilers, but I loved K2SO. So good. But anyway, that's my favorite movie right now. I just watched it last night, actually. Felicia from the Little Prairie Library asked me if I were an animal, what would I say I was most like? And I have a very specific answer for this because I would be a cat. But I wouldn't just be any cat. I would be Pusheen the cat. The cutest little thing on the internet. She also asked me what are my Starbucks go-tos hot and cold. So I'm very seasonal. So from as soon as the pumpkin spice lattes come out, I buy pumpkin spice lattes until the red cups start coming out. And then once the red cups start coming out for Christmas, I am getting a peppermint mocha until the red cups disappear like mid-February. Yeah, that's how like specific I am. And then even though it's still winter here in Canada from like February on, I drink iced cafe mochas because I actually don't like being hot, and I find hot drinks will make you hot. She also asked, why am I so cool? Well, Pickle Hearts Books, Nat from Pickle Hearts Books, asked me if I like pancakes, and I adore pancakes. My mom makes fantastic pancakes. Love at First Page asked me, why do Canadians spell color and honor with a U? In other words, I don't know, to be honest. In fact, when I was a kid, I used to spell it the American way because it was easier than remembering an extra letter for some reason, and I sucked at spelling. I have a feeling it's from carry on from being part of the British Commonwealth because Canada still is part of the British Commonwealth, and you guys didn't want to stay a part of that, so that's probably why you don't have that spelling. And, yeah. Amy C. Books asks, beachside, mountain hammock, sailboat, or rooftop view? I'm assuming these are like where I would like to chill out and hang out or go on vacation. Beachside normally means like people go like tropical and hot and stuff, and I don't like heat. I don't do heat. Also, things live in the ocean that I do not trust, so I'm just going to leave them alone and then they can leave me alone. Mountain hammock. I'm not a big nature person, to be honest, so being out in the wilderness and mountains doesn't appeal to me. Sailboat, again, that goes with like the things in the water that I don't trust. So you'll probably never find me on a boat, even in a lake, like in the interlake area we have in like in the prairies. I will not be on a boat, on a canoe. I hate sailing. I hate boating. Just no. So my last option is rooftop view, which is probably more up my alley. In fact, my dream place to live is like a downtown core, huge city area on a high-rise building apartment. Like just those beautiful, fun, urban, like dream home for me is like a downtown skyrise apartment to kind of just look out and see the city view. That to me is really cool. So I'm going to go with rooftop view. Amy asked, when are you coming to visit Texas? Sorry, girl, probably not because of the heat. I'm just like, this is why I live in Canada. It gets too hot here for me, where I live in Canada, but Texas? No, not even in the wintertime. Sorry, you'll have to come visit me. Or we can like meet halfway in like Portland or something, or somewhere warmer. I mean cooler. Felicia also asked, will you come visit me? Probably more likely than Texas since you're in the same country. Also, I have family that live in that province, so probably more likely to see Felicia than I will Amy. Sorry, Amy. You picked the wrong state to live in. I'm sorry. Anyway, so that is my Q&A, my first ever Q&A. So thank you guys so much for putting in questions and making it a lot of fun for me. I'm really glad that you guys did that for me. And thank you so much for subscribing and being my friend and chatting with me and just supporting me in my little YouTube channel. So as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.